Good. Thank you, Admiral Rogers. Well, in my opening statement, I addressed this, the three agencies' approach that we have responsible for defending against the attacks. So we have the FBI as the lead for law enforcement, the Department of Homeland Security as the lead for critical infrastructure and defending government computer networks, and thirdly, the Department of Defense as the lead for defending the homeland, defending military computer networks, and developing and employing military cyber capabilities. So you've got the DoD, the DHS, and the FBI. No one agency has all the authorities required to defend and protect the homeland. So did we set it up wrong to start with? What does need to be done to encourage a more whole of government? You mentioned that in your opening statement, combating the cyber threats that are out there.
So I think the challenge, as I look at the problem set, and I'm looking at it from the perspective of an operational commander, how do we execute and generate outcomes, if you will? I think it's less an issue of people not understanding what their respective roles are within the structure you outlined. And instead, I think the challenge is, how do we integrate those capabilities into a tighter whole, if you will, that's really optimized to execute at the day-to-day level? I think that's the area where I look at the future, and as I, with my responsibilities as commander of Cyber Command, that's where I'd like to see us focus our efforts. How do we get down to integrated structures and organizations at the execution level? Because that's where you get speed. And one of the challenges with the current structure, as I said, I think people understand their respective roles. It is not optimized for speed and agility. And one of the things that I see in the world we're living in right now, we have got to get faster and we have got to be more agile.
Yeah. There's a lot of discussion about the gaps and seams that exist between each leg of the whole of government approach. Now, our adversaries will seek to exploit those gaps and seams and the confusion that follows an attack as various agencies and departments grapple with the scatter of authorities needed to respond. What are the most dangerous gaps and seams as you look at them?
So for right now, the time it takes to deploy capability, the time that it takes to coordinate a response across multiple organizations when those well-meaning and hardworking organizations are existing in separate structures, that's not optimized for speed. Mm-hmm. And to me, what I think the biggest challenge for us is, how do we integrate this more at an execution level? I understand there's a broader policy issue here and a broader legal framework, and that's not my role as an operational commander. But where I see the need for speed and agility is really when it gets down to
execution. Is someone working on that now?
Oh, there's an ongoing dialogue about, so what's the right way ahead? Now, again, I'm the operational commander, so I have a voice
too many people in
that process, and there's no lack of opinions on this topic.
Yeah. Lastly, you had said previously, and I'm quoting now, offensive cyber in some ways is treated almost like nuclear weapons in the sense that their application outside of defined area of responsibilities is controlled at the chief executive level. It is not delegated down. Now, has anything changed under this new administration? So
we're currently in again, I don't want to speak for the policy side, but I will acknowledge we are currently in a policy discussion on this very issue. The Secretary of Defense has been very aggressive in articulating this concerns him. That there's an ongoing discussion at the moment that I hope is going to come to a way ahead in the near term. Again, I will get an input into that as the operational commander. I'm not the primary decision maker here. I understand what my role is.
Mm-hmm. All right, good. Senator Reed.